The 1930s saw Japan transformed. Nationalism surged, militarism took hold. The island nation, hungry for resources and power, set its sights on the vast expanse of mainland Asia. Manchuria, a resource-rich region of China, became the first target. In 1931, Japanese forces invaded. Their actions a blatant act of aggression. From this conquest, the puppet state of Manchukuo was born. It was a regime controlled by Tokyo, a key foothold in Japan's imperial ambitions. Within this new dominion, a sinister project began to take shape, hidden from the eyes of the world. This was not a project of nation-building or economic development. It was a project of death. Manchukuo, under the iron grip of the Japanese military, was deemed the perfect testing ground. Here, away from scrutiny and accountability, the darkest aspects of human nature would be given free rein. In the shadows, a plan was hatched to develop weapons of unimaginable cruelty. These weapons would not be forged from steel or gunpowder, but from something far more insidious: disease. The world was on the brink of war, and in the heart of Manchuria, a nightmare was brewing. The world would come to know it as Unit 731. At the heart of this wicked enterprise was General Shiro Ishii, a man driven by a chilling ambition. Ishii was a rising star in the Japanese Army Medical Corps, a brilliant but ruthless physician. He believed that Japan's future dominance depended on mastering a weapon deadlier than any other: biological warfare. Ishii's chilling vision captivated the Japanese High Command. They saw in biological weapons the potential to break the enemy's will, to spread terror and chaos on a scale never before imagined. With the full backing of the military, Ishii was given carte blanche. He was to establish a top-secret research facility, a place where he could delve into the darkest realms of biological warfare. This was the genesis of Unit 731. Under Ishii's leadership, the unit would grow into a sprawling complex of laboratories, prisons, and testing grounds. It was a place where science was twisted, where the sanctity of human life was utterly disregarded. Ishii, the architect of this house of horrors, ruled with an iron fist. Driven by a cold-blooded fanaticism, he instilled in his men a callous disregard for their victims. The lives of those they imprisoned and experimented on were deemed utterly worthless, mere logs to be used and discarded in the name of scientific progress. To mask their horrific activities, Unit 731 operated under a veil of secrecy. Outwardly, they were known as the Epidemic, Prevention and Water Purification Department. It was a name intended to deceive, to deflect any suspicion from the true nature of their work. The local population, living under the oppressive thumb of Japanese occupation, knew better than to question the activities within the unit's heavily guarded walls. Whispers circulated, rumors of strange experiments and disappearances, but fear kept most people silent. Inside the facility, a different reality prevailed. Rows upon rows of prisoners, deemed expendable by their Japanese captors, were held in cramped, squalid conditions. These were men, women, and even children snatched from their homes and villages, their only crime being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were the raw material for Ishii's twisted experiments, their lives deemed worthless in the pursuit of Japan's imperial ambitions. The name Epidemic, Prevention and Water Purification Department was a cruel joke, a monstrous lie designed to conceal the systematic extermination occurring within. For behind those walls there was no prevention, only the deliberate infliction of unimaginable suffering. It is difficult to find words to adequately describe the horrors that were inflicted within the walls of Unit 731. The prisoners were subjected to experiments of unimaginable cruelty, their bodies and minds treated as nothing more than research tools. The unit's scientists, under Ishii's direction, conducted a litany of atrocities in the name of science. One of their primary objectives was to develop and weaponize deadly diseases. Prisoners were deliberately infected with plague, cholera, anthrax, and a host of other pathogens. They were then observed, their agonizing decline meticulously documented as the diseases ravaged their bodies. Vivisection, the dissection of living beings, was another horrifying hallmark of Unit 731. Prisoners were strapped down, their bodies sliced open without anesthesia, their organs removed and studied while they were still conscious. The screams that echoed through the labs were met with indifference. To Ishii and his followers, these were not human beings, but merely logs to be used and discarded. The depths of their depravity knew no bounds. Section 5. Unleashing Plague Biological Warfare in China. The horrors of Unit 731 extended far beyond the confines of the facility's walls. Ishii's ambition was not limited to simply developing biological weapons. He was determined to unleash them on a grand scale. China, already ravaged by Japanese invasion, became the testing ground for these weapons of mass destruction. Beginning in 1940, Unit 731 launched a series of horrific biological attacks against Chinese cities and villages. One of the most notorious was the attack on the city of Changde in 1941. Japanese planes, under Ishii's orders, dropped bombs laden with plague-infected fleas over the densely populated city. The results were catastrophic. Plague ripped through Changde, killing thousands of innocent civilians. Hospitals were overwhelmed with the sick and dying lining the streets. The city became a living hell, a testament to the barbarity of biological warfare. The exact number of victims claimed by Unit 731's biological attacks remains unknown. However, historians estimate that hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians perished as a result of these atrocities. The attacks on Changde and other cities were not isolated incidents. They were part of a deliberate and systematic campaign of biological terror waged against the Chinese people. Section 6. Erasing the evidence, the cover-up begins. As the tide of World War II turned against Japan, Ishii and his superiors knew that their crimes could not remain hidden forever. They were determined to erase the evidence of their atrocities to bury the truth about Unit 731. As Soviet forces closed in on the facility in the final days of the war, a frantic effort was undertaken to destroy any trace of their crimes. Buildings were razed, documents were burned, and prisoners were brutally executed to ensure their silence. Ishii, desperate to protect himself and his work, made a pact with the devil. He approached the Americans, offering them the fruits of his research, the data he had collected from years of human experimentation, in exchange for immunity from prosecution. The Americans, eager to gain an edge in the nascent Cold War, agreed to the deal. Ishii and his top scientists were granted immunity, their crimes swept under the rug in the name of political expediency. The cover-up of Unit 731 was a betrayal of the countless victims who had suffered and died within the facility's walls. It was a shameful chapter in the history of the United States, one that would have far-reaching consequences. Section 7. Immunity for atrocities, a deal with the devil. In the aftermath of World War II, as the world reeled from the horrors of the conflict, a grave injustice was perpetrated. The United States, in its pursuit of Cold War advantage, shielded the perpetrators of Unit 731 from justice. The deal struck between Ishii and the Americans was a Faustian bargain, one that would stain the conscience of both nations. In exchange for their data, Ishii and his collaborators were granted immunity from prosecution for war crimes. They were allowed to walk free, their horrific acts swept under the rug of political expediency. The Soviet Union, which had liberated the Unit 731 facility, held trials in Khabarovsk in 1949, where 12 members of the unit were convicted of war crimes. However, these trials were largely ignored by the West, and the full extent of Unit 731's atrocities remained hidden from the world. The American cover-up had effectively silenced the victims of Unit 731, denying them justice and allowing the perpetrators to escape accountability. The data and research obtained from Ishii and his team would go on to inform American biological weapons programs during the Cold War, a chilling testament to the enduring legacy of Unit 731. Section 8. Legacy of Silence, Denial and the Fight for Recognition. For decades, the horrors of Unit 731 remained largely hidden from public view. The Japanese government, eager to distance itself from the atrocities of its wartime past, engaged in a concerted effort to suppress the truth. Textbooks made no mention of Unit 731, and officials denied its existence or downplayed its significance. However, the truth has a way of surfacing. Survivors of Unit 731, haunted by the horrors they had witnessed, began to come forward with their stories. Chinese historians and researchers dedicated themselves to uncovering the truth about the unit's activities, piecing together evidence from declassified documents, eyewitness accounts, and archaeological excavations. In 1990, under mounting international pressure, the Japanese government finally acknowledged the existence of Unit 731. However, even then, officials continued to deny the full extent of the unit's crimes, claiming that the number of victims was far lower than historical evidence suggested. The fight for recognition and justice for the victims of Unit 731 is ongoing. Section 9. The Unanswered Questions of Unit 731. The legacy of Unit 731 continues to cast a long shadow over Japan and the world. The unit's horrific experiments, conducted in the name of science and national ambition, stand as a stark warning against the dangers of unchecked power and the dehumanizing effects of war. The full extent of Unit 731's crimes may never be known. Many of the unit's records were destroyed in the final days of the war, and the American cover-up ensured that much of the remaining evidence remained hidden for decades. The ethical dilemmas posed by Unit 731 continue to resonate today. The unit's research, obtained through unimaginable cruelty, has been used to advance medical knowledge and develop vaccines. This raises profound questions about the use of data obtained through unethical means. Can we, in good conscience, benefit from knowledge gained through such horrific acts? The debate over the legacy of Unit 731 is a reminder that the past is never truly gone. It continues to shape our present and will continue to challenge our moral compass for generations to come. We owe it to the victims of Unit 731 to remember their suffering, to seek justice for their memory, and to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. The world remembers Auschwitz as the epitome of Nazi horror, a place where unimaginable atrocities unfolded. But Auschwitz did not begin as a death factory. It started as a prison camp, a place to silence dissent and crush the spirit of the Polish people. Established in 1940 on the outskirts of the small Polish town of Oświęcim, Auschwitz I, the main camp, became a holding pen for political prisoners, intellectuals, and anyone deemed an enemy of the Nazi regime. Behind the deceptively benign phrase "Arbeit macht frei," work sets you free, emblazoned on the iron gates, a brutal reality awaited. Prisoners were subjected to forced labor, starvation, and sadistic punishments. The camp's first commandant, Rudolf Höss, was a chilling embodiment of Nazi ideology, overseeing the transformation of Auschwitz from a prison into a killing center. With cold efficiency, he implemented the machinery of mass murder. The camp expanded rapidly. Auschwitz II Birkenau, a sprawling complex designed for extermination, was built nearby. It was here that the Nazis perfected their methods of mass murder, using Zyklon B gas to kill thousands upon thousands of innocent people. The transition from prison camp to extermination camp was swift and brutal, a testament to the Nazi regime's genocidal intentions. The the world would never be the same. Birkenau, also known as Auschwitz II, was the embodiment of Nazi ambition and depravity. Constructed on a vast scale, it was designed to facilitate the final solution, the systematic annihilation of European Jewry. Trains arrived daily, packed with Jewish men, women and children from across Nazi-occupied Europe. They had no idea of the fate that awaited them. The railway tracks led directly into the heart of Birkenau, culminating in a ramp where the process of selection began. SS doctors, including the infamous Josef Mengele, made life-or-death decisions with a flick of the wrist. The young, the old, the weak and the sick were sent directly to the gas chambers, their fate sealed the moment they stepped off the train. Those deemed fit for labor were spared for now. They were stripped of their belongings, their identities erased, replaced with a number tattooed on their arms. Herded into overcrowded barracks, they endured unimaginable conditions, starvation, disease, and the constant threat of violence. Birkenau was a place of unimaginable cruelty, a testament to the depths of human depravity. The smoke from the crematoria, working ceaselessly to dispose of the bodies, hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the horrors being perpetrated within. The journey to Auschwitz was a nightmare in itself. Packed into cattle cars, deprived of food, water and sanitation, many died before reaching their destination. Those who survived the journey arrived at Birkenau, greeted by the barking of dogs, the shouts of SS guards, and a scene of utter chaos. The selection process was swift and brutal. Families were torn apart, mothers separated from their children, husbands from their wives. The elderly and the infirm were often sent to their deaths immediately, gassed upon arrival. The young and the strong clung to a sliver of hope, believing that their ability to work would save them. The illusion of hope was a cruel trick. The Nazis used it to maintain order, to prevent panic and resistance. Those selected for labor were stripped of their humanity, reduced to numbers, their lives hanging by a thread. The constant threat of death, the ever-present stench of burning flesh, served as a constant reminder of their precarious existence. For those sent to the gas chambers, death came quickly. Lured into the chambers under the pretense of a shower, they were gassed with Zyklon B, their bodies later incinerated in the crematoria. The efficiency of the killing process was chilling, a testament to the cold, calculated nature of the Nazi genocide. To survive in Auschwitz was to endure a living hell. Prisoners were housed in overcrowded barracks, infested with lice and rats. Disease was rampant, and the scant rations provided were barely enough to sustain life. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, a constant companion to their misery. Forced labor consumed their days. Prisoners worked tirelessly, subjected to the relentless cruelty of the SS guards. Exhaustion became a way of life, a defense mechanism against the horrors that surrounded them. The slightest infraction, real or imagined, could result in a beating, torture, or even death. Amidst the suffering, there were small acts of defiance, whispers of hope. Prisoners shared their meager rations, offered words of comfort, and clung to the belief that one day their tormentors would be held accountable. They found solace in their shared humanity, in the knowledge that they were not alone in their suffering. But for many, the horrors of Auschwitz proved too much to bear. Broken in body and spirit, they succumbed to starvation, disease, or despair. Their deaths, like their lives, were recorded with chilling indifference in the meticulous records kept by the SS. Section 5. Beyond endurance, medical experiments, and the depths of cruelty, the horrors of Auschwitz extended beyond the gas chambers and the crematoria. The camp was also home to a dark chapter in medical history, where Nazi doctors conducted twisted experiments on unwilling human subjects. Driven by a perverse ideology and a thirst for knowledge, they used prisoners as guinea pigs, inflicting unimaginable suffering in the name of science. One of the most notorious of these doctors was Josef Mengele, the Angel of Death. Obsessed with genetics and racial purity, he conducted gruesome experiments on twins, injecting them with diseases, subjecting them to painful procedures, and dissecting their bodies after death. His cruelty knew no bounds. Other doctors experimented with sterilization methods, testing their theories on Jewish women. They exposed prisoners to extreme temperatures, infected them with deadly diseases, and amputated limbs without anesthesia. The suffering they inflicted was unimaginable, a testament to the depths of human depravity. The medical experiments conducted at Auschwitz were a violation of the Hippocratic Oath, a betrayal of the very principles of medicine. They stand as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the ease with which scientific curiosity can be twisted into something monstrous. Section 6. Sparks of defiance, resistance and escape attempts. Despite the horrors that surrounded them, the prisoners of Auschwitz never completely surrendered their hope or their humanity. Acts of resistance, both large and small, flickered like candles in the darkness. They whispered forbidden prayers, sang songs of their homeland, and shared stories of their loved ones, keeping their spirits alive in the face of despair. Some acts of resistance were more overt. Prisoners sabotaged equipment, stole food, and passed information to the outside world. They formed underground networks, providing support and solace to their fellow inmates. These acts of defiance, though dangerous, provided a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times the human spirit could not be extinguished. One of the most remarkable acts of resistance was the Sonderkommando uprising in October 1944. The Sonderkommando, Jewish prisoners forced to work in the gas chambers and crematoria, rose up against their captors, blowing up Crematorium 4 and engaging in a brief but fierce battle. Though the uprising was ultimately crushed, it stands as a testament to the courage and desperation of those who had nothing left to lose. Escape attempts, though fraught with danger, also offered a glimmer of hope. Some prisoners managed to slip through the cracks, risking their lives for a chance at freedom. Their stories, often told at great personal risk, helped to expose the horrors of Auschwitz to the outside world. Section 7. Liberation and Justice, bearing witness to the unthinkable. On January 27, 1945, the gates of Auschwitz were thrown open by soldiers of the Soviet Red Army, revealing the full horror of the Nazi genocide. The world watched in disbelief as images of skeletal survivors piled high with corpses filled newspapers and newsreels. The stench of death clung to the air, a haunting testament to the atrocities that had taken place. The liberation of Auschwitz was a moment of profound significance, marking the end of the Nazi reign of terror and the beginning of a long and painful process of healing and accountability. The world vowed never again, pledging to learn from the horrors of the Holocaust and to prevent such atrocities from ever happening again. The pursuit of justice for the victims of Auschwitz began almost immediately. The Nuremberg trials, held in the aftermath of the war, brought high-ranking Nazi officials to justice for their crimes against humanity. Rudolf Höss, the commandant of Auschwitz, was captured, tried and hanged at the camp in 1947. The liberation of Auschwitz was a victory over evil, but it could not bring back the millions who had perished. The scars of Auschwitz run deep, a reminder of the fragility of human civilization and the importance of vigilance in the face of hatred and intolerance. Section 8. Auschwitz today. A stark reminder, a sacred memorial. Today, the remnants of Auschwitz stand as a stark reminder of the horrors of the Holocaust. Preserved as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the camp serves as a pilgrimage site for millions of visitors each year who come to pay their respects, to learn and to remember. The silence that hangs heavy in the air is broken only by the footsteps of visitors and the hushed whispers of tour guides. The barracks, the gas chambers, the crematoria all stand as mute witnesses to the atrocities that took place. The personal belongings of the victims, shoes, eyeglasses, suitcases, are displayed. A poignant reminder that those who perished were not statistics, but individuals with lives, loves, and dreams. Auschwitz is a place of profound sadness, but it is also a place of hope. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the power of memory, and to the importance of fighting against intolerance and hatred in all its forms. It is a place where we confront the darkest chapters of human history, not to wallow in despair, but to draw strength from the past and to build a better future. The inscription on the memorial at Auschwitz reads, "Forever let this place be a cry of despair and a warning to humanity." It is a message that resonates deeply, a call to action for all who believe in a world free from hatred, bigotry, and genocide. Section 9. The enduring legacy, never forget, never again. The legacy of Auschwitz extends far beyond the barbed wire fences and crumbling watchtowers. It is a legacy that lives on in the stories of the survivors, in the memories of those who perished, and in the hearts of all who vow to never forget the horrors of the Holocaust. The phrase "never forget, never again" has become a rallying cry, a reminder that we must remain vigilant against all forms of intolerance and discrimination. It is a call to action, urging us to speak out against injustice, to defend the rights of the marginalized, and to build a world where such atrocities are unthinkable. The lessons of Auschwitz are timeless and universal. They remind us that hatred and prejudice can flourish anywhere, that indifference is complicity, and that the defense of human rights is a responsibility shared by all. They teach us the importance of remembrance, the power of empathy, and the fragility of peace. As we move further away in time from the horrors of the Holocaust, it's more important than ever that we keep the memory of Auschwitz alive. We must share the stories of the victims, honor the courage of the survivors, and never cease to learn from the darkest chapter in human history. Only then can we truly say, never again.